All right. Here we are. Welcome, welcome, everyone.
Here we are. Here we are. Happy New Year.
All right.
Come on.
Okay, we're live.
We are live.
Good to see everybody chiming in.
Fantastic. Episode 66. Words have power. Words and the worlds that they create. Chapter 1, we start with In the beginning, there was the Word. The great linguist Noam Chomsky said recently, I'm awestruck by the same things that Galileo was awestruck by. Galileo and his contemporaries were carrying out in the 17th century a major revision of the whole picture of science that's become the birth of modern science, questioning everything, reconstructing it, and so on. And one of the topics that they were interested in that captured their attention was language. And what impressed Galileo and others to express awe and amazement at an astonishing property of ordinary language. Somehow, with a handful of symbols, we can construct in our minds infinitely many thoughts, which is already kind of miraculous on its own. How can this happen? And in addition, we can find a way to convey these thoughts to the minds of others who have no access to our minds. Galileo regarded the alphabet as the most stupendous of human inventions. And to the level of Michelangelo and his contemporaries who had the same view. I think they were right. So, sort of sometimes called the Galilean challenge, which is how can this miracle be achieved? For Descartes, this was essentially one of the basic reasons why he established mind as an entity distinct from body, because of the way in which language is used creatively to express an infinity of thoughts which have never been heard before and can somehow enable others who have no access to our minds, enabling them to nevertheless understand and to see and grasp the workings of our minds. His thought required something outside the mechanical universe, so that all in amazement, I think, remains. We understand some parts, not others. I would very much like to solve the problem that I called Galileo's challenge and the Descartes challenge. How are these miracles possible? We haven't the slightest idea. We can understand the mechanisms that enter into these actions, free, creative use of language, the slightest idea in how it's exercised. I think that's true. Voluntary motion, generally, the leading scientists who study the neuroscience of voluntary motion. I don't mean complicated things like speaking. Simple things like, say, raising your finger, trying to decide what goes on when you decide to raise your fingers. We have no idea what they say. The two leading scientists, actually former colleagues of mine at MIT, wrote in the state-of-the-art paper not long ago in which they put this rather fancifully. We're coming to understand the puppet and the strings, but they have nothing to say about the puppeteer. And it's a very mysterious fact that even for the most simple actions like this, is extreme experimental evidence showing that the decision to raise your finger is made about half a second before you become conscious of deciding. So the decision is made by preconsciously in ways which you have no understanding of. at a much richer level. It becomes the question of how you and I are doing what we're doing right now. How can we constantly be engaging in this process of creating new structures, new thoughts, maybe new in history in the language? Others understand them instantly and can somehow penetrate our minds, even though they have no access to our minds, just through the use of a few symbols. All of this is highly mysterious. I know. I'm never going to solve it. In fact, humans may never solve it. Maybe it's beyond the human capacity, but that would be an amazing discovery. And speaking of discovery, as you join us on the stream today, we'd love to discover where in the world you are tuning in from. So go ahead and tell us in the comments. Use your words and allow us to enter into your world in the location you're currently residing. Don't be shy. It's a great way for us and everyone listening to see what that we have in our community and who's in our community or our network of like-minded souls coming together to better themselves. So go ahead, drop it down in the comments. What city, what country are you listening from?
Yeah, I saw some Finland. I saw Spain. I saw Toronto, Ontario. I saw
I love it.
Waterford, Ireland.
I love it.
Um,
So one final logistics thing for me is remember that we do have a private Facebook group that is going to have more and more exclusive access to the stuff that we're doing this year, and it's going to be crazy. I said, including access to our replay page on our website. Once you become a member, we'll send you the link, but you have to be a member to get it. And it's free to be part of our growing community of over 8,000 people across the globe. So just go to facebook.com/groups/the Infinity Matrix.
It's there on the screen for you right now.
Fantastic. And please, please make sure you fill out all 3 entry questions. That way you'll be automatically accepted into the group. If you don't, I'll be up front with you. It'll just bounce you out. Okay? Because we're looking for serious people. Okay, so you'll also have the opportunity to become part of the VIP group. And that's where you're going to be getting extra bonuses and access to stuff that nobody else will get. So if you're not already a member, then head over to the link down below, facebook.com/groups/the Infinity Matrix. I wish we could make that shorter. But
Yeah.
it is.
It's up to Facebook, though. Yeah, so we got New Delhi, we got Melbourne, we got India, we got Romania, we got London, UK, and then, Demetrius and his cheekiness. Where do you see? I'm from planet Gaia.
Well, he also put global community in unity. I love that. I'm going to borrow that. Thanks, Demetrius. Fantastic.
I love that. All right. So also to mention, if you are already a member of the private group and a part of our VIP, you will be getting an email with the new unpublished replay link sometime in the next few days or so. So be patient with us. We will send that out. So keep an eye on your email, your inbox for an email from us. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 66. In the Infinity Process, Ross and I have developed it's a process where the number 66 is a particularly special number. It has a number. It is a number that invokes massive action around choice and change. And we understand that everybody's got their ideas of different numbers and what they could mean or couldn't mean. But in our Infinity Process, one of the primary things is that with 66, it's about massive action around choice and change. And as we kick off our live streams for 2022, I think it's fitting that we open up with such a powerful topic that's really at the heart and soul of creation in the Infinity Matrix.
Indeed.
Okay. Now, I want you to think about What is the thing in every single person's reality that has ultimate power? I mean, ultimate power. The thing that's omnipresent, meaning that it's everywhere, all the time, for everyone. We all think them, we all hear them. Every one of us uniquely adopts or creates their meanings. We consciously and unconsciously formulate and select them every time we speak, sing, write, and even read them every day, all the time. And of course, I'm talking about words. Yes, words. I've been a word junkie, a word geek, if you will, for a long time, really studying the impact and the power that words can have on an individual's experience. So, yes, words and the worlds they create is going to be our theme. There's a quote from the scriptures: in the beginning, there was the word. Okay, going all the way back, even if you think about it, all the way back to the moment of conception in the womb. We now know through Dr. Bruce Lipton's work on biology of beliefs that even back then, that words can and do have an impact on the world we come to know and experience. Well, Ross and I believe that 2022 is a pivotal year for the collective consciousness on this version of Earth, a pivotal year to make shifts toward more empowerment and expansion into more of what we were meant to be individually and as a species. So this year, what we're doing is we're taking these live streams to a whole new level for you. Now, it is important to understand that we've been giving you already, in the form of information and Infinity Matrix hacks, some really powerful stuff. And so like it's like unlike anyone else that's giving content out there that we're aware of currently. So please make sure you go back and catch up on the episodes that you've missed, and episodes that you know you should be putting on repeat. Again, become part of the members group. You'll get the replay link, the new replay link, and then you'll be able to watch all of that on the site. Now, our objective is to bring things together in even more cohesive ways that will lay foundations that will assist you in your ability and your capacity to transform your environment, your behaviors, your capabilities, your beliefs, your identity, and even your connection with and acceptance of your essential role in how all that is experiencing all that is. And whatever name you give that, God, universe, whatever name you give that. Okay? This month, our streams will have the theme of words have power. So let me set the tone with a quote that I found some time ago, which kind of sums it up nicely. Words are singularly the most powerful force available to humanity. We can choose to use this force constructively with words of encouragement, or destructively using words of despair. Words have energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble. And I don't know who the individual, but it's Yehuda Berg is, and I just remembered it when I read it. I loved it. I copied it, and I thought I knew I'd be using it at some point. And as far back as they've been around, they've been the object of fascination, worship, and in some cases, terror. The words we use in our lives are like they're like a hidden code that's always been there in our reality to access, while containing secret powers of transformation and evolution. So stick around on this stream as we discuss the long evidence of and history of how words create the worlds we live in. Here's our promise to you. By the end of these 4 chapters on words have power, you will be able to consistently step into a destiny that is full of meaningful and profound experiences, including, but not limited to, having better communication with those you interact with daily, stronger, more enriching, and heart-connected relationships. You'll be able to improve your overall well-being while achieving your innermost desires with more ease and flow. That's a big promise, but if you stick with us for these 4 chapters, you're going to get a lot of really great stuff. So if any of that sounds appealing to you, you're going to want to make sure you stick around for today's full episode and come back to the other 3 chapters in this series. The 4 streams this month are put together to increase your conscious and your unconscious ability to fully harness the power, the most powerful and influential aspect of the infinity matrix, so that it becomes one of your greatest skills in creating the reality you desire. It's literally the most accessible code available, and no one, I mean no one, can stop you from wielding it to serve your every need and desire in this life.
Although they have tried.
and you can allow them to, but you're still giving that power to them.
Exactly.
Right? And astronomer and scientist Carl Sagan says it's a form of magic that can create entire universes from a single page.
I love Carl. We miss you, Carl. We do. So, and I just for edification that, we're doing these live streams in bundles now. So in other words, each month is going to have a theme. And that's primarily because we need to, sorry about that.
The universe is calling you, Ross.
I know. Hello. Sorry. But what we want to do is that when last year we learned a great lesson is that when we're doing the research for all of our live streams, it's just like, there's so much here. I want to make this even bigger. And so now we're doing it. We're making these themes throughout each month. It's going to be unbelievable. We told you there's going to be a lot of changes, and they're all going to be for the benefit of you. So let's talk a little bit about words and language. And it all started back when humans were basically animals. And the human animal starts with a stimulus. Then they see an image, and they hear a sound or feel a sensation. And this triggers a thought, which creates a response, perhaps a sound. A, ooh, oh, grunt. Then multiple sounds get mashed together, and that creates a word. And that word becomes a string of words, a sentence, into a paragraph, into a story, and a language is created. So with this in mind, and distilled down even further, a language is simply a collection of sounds or symbols arranged in specific orders. With the simplest of languages having only 2. Your computer. Ones and zeros. It is the simplest of languages. So no one really knows for sure when language evolved. But fossil and genetic data shows that all human groups have a language. Language itself, or at least the capacity for it, is probably at least 150,000 to 200,000 years old, taking its form from engravings on the cave walls. In their paper, Natural Language and Natural Selection, researchers Steven Pinker and Paul Bloom theorized that this series of sounds or gestures evolved over time into combinations, thus giving us a more complex system of communication or language. As things became more complicated around them, the human needed a more concise system to convey information to one another. A perfect example is the glossary of medicine. You ever notice that doctors speak so concise, so detailed? They have a whole different encyclopedia of words. So these authors, they theorized it to have gone like this. The human sees a group of deer he wants to hunt. He grunts a sound to his hunting partner that means deer nearby. One day, a storm comes in, and the hunter notices that thunder scares the deer away. As a result, the hunter and his family goes hungry until the storm passes. Over time, the same hunter also learns to recognize the warning signs for bad weather, dark skies, and increased winds. Early man realizes that when the sky darkens and the wind picks up, he needs to tell his hunting partner to speed up the pursuit of the deer. Therefore, he comes up with a series of grunts that reference both the deer and the bad weather. Ah! What do you got? That series of grunts was the beginning of an evolutionary adaptation that eventually became language. And as humans learned more about how to best survive, they developed a need to communicate these survival methods to their population. And that's the adaptation theory in a nutshell. Now, Noam Chomsky, from my introduction, and Stephen Gould, however, hypothesized that language may have evolved simply because the physical structure of the brain evolved. And the latest in DNA testing is quickly becoming the theory of choice. Sorry about that. I don't know how to turn that off. The theory of neuroplasticity holds true to the second hypothesis, that cognitive structures that were used for things like tool making or rule learning were also good for complex communication. Both fall in line with the theory that as our brains became larger, our cognitive functions had the ability to now increase, as how the hunter recognized the patterns between the deer and the storm. Darwin called this evolution of language pre-adaptation, which is now known as acceptation. We understand why language began. So how did language begin? Our language is so unique among all forms of animal communication, because all animals communicate, but ours is so unique. It is unlikely that any other species, including our close genetic cousins, the Neanderthals, ever actually had a language. Surprisingly, language evolution shares many features with biological evolution. And this has made it useful for tracing recent human history and for studying how culture evolves among groups of people with related languages. A case can be made that language has played a more of an important role in our species in the last 200 years of evolution, more than has the evolution of our genes.
Yeah.
Language is distinct from all other known animal forms of communication in being compositional. Human language allows speakers to express thoughts in sentences comprising subjects, verbs, and objects, such as I kicked the ball, and recognizing past, present, future tenses. Where have we heard that before? Kicked, kicking, will kick. This versatility gives human language an endless capacity for generating new sentences as we combine and recombine sets of words into their subject, their verb, and their object roles. For instance, with just 25 different words for each role, it is already possible to generate over 15,000 distinct sentences. That's crazy. Gary, we should run this algorithm with the infinity process. I bet we surpass it.
Yeah, well, actually, I've already crunched the numbers on that, and when the infinity process is fully activated in a person's matrix, it generates neuropsychological communication events to the tune of over 10 to the power of 23. So that's 10 followed by 23 zeros on a daily basis, impacting the reality we create and experience. And actually, this would be a good topic to tap into on, and add into the mix on Saturdays Down the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, you can join us on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. PST. It's scrolling on the bottom here. We have a live Zoom call to have a conversation about whatever really you want to have a conversation about, including going deeper into today's topic or answering questions to get clarity on what we're saying, or things we brought forth to get some insight from you. All you have to do is go to hackingtheinfinitematrix.com/rabbit hole, and it will take you to the Zoom registration page. Just enter your info, and Zoom will send you the Zoom link for the live event on Saturday morning, 8 a.m. PST. That's hackingtheinfinitematrix.com/rabbit hole. We'd love to see more of you out there. We're having a great group every week, and it's building a great community and having some awesome conversations.
It really is. I mean, it's an open conversation, and it's amazing. It really is. We love it. It's kind of our favorite show of the week so far. Yeah. So as where non-human animal communication is principally limited to repetitive acts directed towards a specific end. Like, I'll give you an example, like most ape sign language, for example, is concerned with requests for food. And there's a trained chimpanzee called Nim Chimpsky's. It's if you haven't figured this out, it's a play on Noam Chomsky.
That's right.
I don't know if that's something to be honored by, or like, what? So anyhow, Nim, who has the longest recorded utterance when translated from sign language, was give orange me, give eat orange me, eat orange, give me, eat orange, give me you. Which kind of reminds me of something I heard on last week on New Year's Eve. But so that's kind of how it works. And I know we see lots of news articles saying, that this particular animal can communicate, but it's not a real communication in terms of how humans communicate. But scientists observe that the formation of different languages and of distinct species, and the proofs that both have developed through a gradual process, are curiously the same. They also asserted that the survival and preservation of certain favored words in the struggle for existence is natural selection. This is so cool. So, for example, you've heard the term a dead language. Not language of the dead, a dead language. One that lost its battle through evolution. And the simplest example is that words that are used more often, such as I, he, she, it, the, you, tend to be shorter and consequently easier to pronounce than less frequently used words such as obstroparious, which means noisy and difficult to control.
Like your phone.
What's that?
Your phone is obstroparious.
And then another one is cataphylactic, which is it's a piece of a coffin. And but this is an example of a form of natural selection, except here, instead of biological individuals competing for the physical environment, Words compete for space in the environment of the human mind.
Yeah.
Our minds give preference to shorter versions of frequently used words, presumably to reduce effort. And this pressure is relaxed among the less frequently used words, allowing them to be longer. It might also be the case that once the frequently used words have occupied the space of possible short words, there are fewer opportunities for the less frequently used words, and thus they fall away. You'll notice this as we progress through our trainings in the coming year. And I'll go into dead languages more on Saturday's rabbit hole as well, if that's where the direction that we go. And again, just another reminder: Saturdays 8 a.m. Pacific time. The link is streaming down
Scrolling on the bottom. Yeah.
of the screen, so grab on and jump on. It's a lot of fun. Nevertheless, though, language as a whole is an amazing development. No other natural communication system is like human language. Human language can express thoughts on an unlimited number of topics, like love and joy, faith and war, the past, the future, mathematics, gossip, fairy tales, how to fix the kitchen sink. Virtually anything. It can be used not just to convey information, but to solicit information with questions. Where does that sound familiar? And to give instructions. Unlike any other animal communication system, it contains an expression for negation. In other words, what is not the case. Every human language has a vocabulary of tens of thousands of words built up from several dozen speech sounds. Each one can build an unlimited number of phrases and sentences out of the words, plus a collection of prefixes and suffixes, and the meaning of sentences are built from the meanings of the individual words. What is still more remarkable is that every typically developing child learns verbally this whole system just from hearing others use it. That's amazing. And some of those children are learning multiple languages at the same time. Language has played a prominent and possibly preeminent role in our species' history. Consider that where all other species tend to be found in the environments their genes adapt them to, humans can adapt at the cultural level, acquiring the knowledge and producing the tools. This comes down to language, processing language. Humans have had a high fidelity code for transmitting detailed information down the generations. Seems that we left out that part about how to best utilize our minds, but that's what our master labs are all about. So then humans learn the story concept, the parables, sonnets, and sermon syndrome. This is the articulation of language in order to soothe, serenade, and sometimes stifle the thoughts of the listener or reader. The modifying of the meaning of words and phrases in order to control the architecture of hidden ideas buried within sentences and phrases, such as to manipulate ideas of, let's say, race, gender, and spirituality, and much, much more. They are seen as trying to change the definition of words, which seems weird and kind of sinister at least. But the most sinister of language manipulation is the reduction of word vocabularies, or even worse, the withholding of one's ability to read or comprehend their own language. That's how control can be maintained. Because when you limit the number of words, you limit the available thoughts that they could create.
Yeah, you go from the 25 to 10.
Exactly.
Right?
And thus, the number and quality of ideas,
Mm-hmm.
you limit that. So now you're not going to be able to think of as many ideas or thoughts, or the quality of those ideas or thoughts. Limiting the ability to question. That's what this does. It limits the ability to question the status quo, to narrow the range of thought, and in the end, making radical thinking literally impossible, because there will be no words in which to express it. The link between words and knowledge is what makes language so crucial, and something we're going to go into further in episode 68 in a couple of weeks as part of this month's Power of Words theme. So make sure you tune in. The idea that a human being's language represents a state of some component of the mind is an idea that continues to baffle many experts. The great founders of modern science were awed by the fact that language permits us to construct from 25 to 30 sounds in an infinite variety of expressions, which, although not having any resemblance in themselves to that which passes through our minds, nevertheless do not fail to reveal all of the secrets of the mind and to make intelligible to others who cannot penetrate into the mind all that we conceive and all that of the diverse movements of our soul. I have something in my mind. This is what Gary and I have been doing for the last year. We have something in our mind, and we are using language to share it with you. So now it's in your mind. Descartes said the human capacity for unbounded and appropriate use of language has a primary basis for his postulation of mind as a new creative principle. In later years, there's occasional recognition that language is a creative activity that involves infinite use of finite means. In other words, I have 25,000 words, but they create an infinite variety of uses and meanings. There's also been awareness that these capacities are a species proprietary, shared by humans and unique to them, and it being the most striking feature of this curious of us as an organism, as the foundation for our remarkable achievements.
Yeah. I mean, the and we really want to get across the idea that words have been under the radar, if you will, in so many ways, and how they can impact both the positive side of things and the negative side of things in your experiences. And if we don't put attention on it, then we'll never be able to have control over it. Therefore, we are never in control of our reality that we create. Right. And the first step of that is understanding the background of words and, the impact they've had, so we can see the evidence. Right. And now that you're getting a grasp of that background of the words and the impact they have in creating the world you experience, let's start to look at how some of that structure has come to be and what it's involved into. And Ross mentioned earlier about the mashing of sounds, creating words, then evolving to a more complex structure like a full language, complete with the collection of lexicon of relevant and culturally agreed upon words, right? But let's look deeper, because we've found that by doing so, we can uncover some of the building blocks of reality in the infinity matrix.
Yep.
So let's go back to the beginning here a second. As far as we know, right, we began with signs and symbols. And those signs and symbols, we gave specific meaning to them. Then we learned the value in measuring these things in order to get the advantage for survival. So a numerical system was established. Then combined, and over time, an order and even a hierarchy was given to the symbols to create an alphabet. Now, did you know that alphabet was derived from the first two letters of the Greek alphabet, which is alpha and beta, right? So just in that alone, it's creating the formation of what we consider to be this thing called language. Okay, this systemized approach to ordering these symbols also allowed us to combine the symbols to have multiple meanings and in the form of words, as Ross was talking about, which allows us to bring things into reality with meaning and purpose. Because if you don't have a word to describe something, you can't experience that something. Okay. Now, sometimes it's an unconscious word or unconscious definition or formulation. So it may not necessarily always be conscious, but it's formulated through a word that we've given a definition to. Right? In order for you to understand and have in your awareness a fork, a utensil called a fork, right? You had to have the word and the definition of that word, which then formulated that. And at some point, it didn't exist, but then someone came up with the idea, gave it a word, and then form came to it. Okay? These words then led way to sentences, which opened up possibilities of declaring some things to be real and others to be not real. And the more we could declare reality, the stronger it became. Right? If you think about someone who's stuck on something being a certain way, they have strong words to confirm that, to reinforce that, to emphasize that, to hold on to that, to enhance the experience. And so to enhance the experience, we turn those declarations into full stories of reality. All right. And as our worlds became more complex, we developed life themes to encompass all of those words, all of those alphabets, and bring the reality we experience to life moment to moment. And before you run off thinking this is just some lesson in linguistics or history of language, I urge you to look deeper and understand that what we're telling you is that none of what you experience would be possible without words. And what we're revealing is not just an essential ingredient of the infinity matrix, but the essential ingredient. Okay, so we're revealing not just an essential ingredient of the infinity matrix, it's the essential ingredient. You'll see over the span of these live streams that are focused on words have power, you'll see that the power has been right under your nose. It's been there, right there for you to access at your fingertips, if you will, to craft the reality you desire the whole time you've been alive. So it's about time. Make 2022 the time you deeply consider the when, the where, the how, the what, and the why words are impacting your reality every moment of every day you exist. The format of the Infinity Matrix hacks, at least for the being time, is that we're going to lead up to them in the last chapter of each month, which will be solely focused around hacks for each month's theme. So make sure you catch every episode, because they will contain some key concepts and learnings to make those hacks have even more meaning and powerful and relevance.
Do we
All right.
use words in those hacks?
In everything. Yeah.
Do we use words in questions?
Yeah.
And that's all.
It's all in that, but it's what words and when do you use them, and
Exactly.
how do the words play a role in the reality creation of time, space, matter, and energy. That's really what we're boiling down to here. Okay, so make sure you jump on the rabbit hole coming up Saturday morning, 8 a.m. PST, and just go to the link on the bottom, hackingtheinfinitematrix.com/rabbit hole, and get your Zoom link. Jump on and join us. If you're not a part of the group, make sure you are jumping on the group to get the replays of this and other streams. We have all our streams on one place where you can access them. We'll get that link to all the VIP members over the next few days or so. And and that's our stream for today, everyone. We wanted to kind of wet your whistle on the concept and the idea of words, and so thank you for joining us and being here. Remember, we're here every Thursday. We've come back to our original time of 9 a.m. PST, so make sure you remember that. Make sure you tune into next week's live stream as we talk about the energetic qualities of words and how they affect the worlds we create.
That one's going to be really cool.
And we greatly appreciate you being here. And remember, we challenge you to be exceptional and take the things that we're sharing with you and implement them into your daily lives so that you can start to master the art of designing your reality. Until next time, be well, be kind, and be your infinite self. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.